Okay, hello everyone. Thanks for joining me for another math lesson. This is Mr. Kalashin. This is math lesson number 100, page 308 in your practice in your practice book, in your math notebook, volume 2, of course. So again, lesson 100, page 308 in your volume 2 math notebook. And of course, you'll need your math notebook and a pencil and a whiteboard and a marker. If you don't have a whiteboard, a white piece of paper so you can continue practicing and working along with the lesson. Here we go. Today's learning objective is we will name points using ordered pairs and use the ordered pairs to plot fractional points. The standard is 5G1, and the essential question is, how are points located on a coordinate plane? And as always, you can always pause. If I'm going too fast, pause and go back and read it again and listen to it again, and then hit play and continue on. Use a straight edge to draw an x-axis through points A and B. Well, here are points A and B down here. And an easy way to remember x and y, well, we'll get to that in a minute, but the x-axis is always the horizontal axis. So you would draw a straight line through A and B as shown here. Remember, a line has arrows on both ends because a line goes on to infinity. So there need to be arrows on either end of that to make it a line. Now use a straight edge to draw a y-axis through points C and D. C and D. And again, that is your vertical axis through C and D. And there we have it. Now, on the axis, we are going to label the whole numbers only. The length of one square on the grid represents 1/4. How many whole numbers can we label? So if you see here, we have 1, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, that's one whole, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 whole, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 whole, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 whole, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 whole. 5 whole numbers. Each of these lines is 1/4. What is the x-coordinate of point A? Well, if you said 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, you would be, if you said 1, you would be correct. It is 1. Now, what is the x-coordinate of point B? Well, here's point B way down here. Well, there's 4 whole, 1, 2, 3. That would be 4 and 3/4. If you got 4 and 3/4, you are correct. Label the y-axis in the same manner. So it would be 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a whole 1. So it would be the same way, and I'll show you here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, and so on and so on. An easy way to remember the y-axis and the x-axis is the following. If you look at the letter y, if you take the tail off, just remove the tail, what do you have left? A V. What does vertical start with? V. So just remember, the y-axis is your vertical axis, and the x-axis is the horizontal axis. A good way to remember which number comes first, there are two ways to remember what number comes first in an ordered pair. letters X and Y, X comes before Y in the alphabet. Therefore, the X number, the number for the X-axis comes first in the ordered pair, and the Y-axis comes second. So X number comes first, Y-axis comes second, X, Y, arranged in alphabet order that way as well. The second way to remember is the X-axis. Think of an airplane. The X-axis number is the airplane going down the runway to get speed for takeoff. The Y-axis is the number as it takes off into the air. You have to go down the runway first before you can take off into the air. Therefore, the X-axis number comes first. The Y-axis number comes second. Hope that helped. What is the Y coordinate of point C? Well, it would be, what do you think? If you got 2, you got it right. Oh, you're on it. You're on it. And you notice that's the second number because Y comes after X. Oh, you guys are so smart. It is so fun teaching you. What is for D? There's 4. And if you got what? That's right. 4 and a fourth. 4 and a fourth. Oh, you guys are super. Stay with me now. Put your finger on E. How do we find the X coordinate of E? Well, here's E. How do we find the X coordinate? The X coordinate of E. You come down the X-axis, find a spot directly below the point E, and that would be 2. The X-axis would be 2. That's the way you do it. You come down the line and you come up. Or if you're looking for Y-axis, you come up the Y-axis and go across to that point that you're looking for. What is the Y coordinate of E? Well, again, same way, up here, across, it is, what is it? Oh, you're right, it's 1. Oh, and that's the way you would write it. The ordered pair are always inside parentheses, and there's always a comma between the two numbers. So the coordinate ordered pairs here would be 2 and 1. What is the ordered pair for point F? For point F, and point F is way over here. So what is the ordered pair? Well, let's first get that X-axis number because X comes first. It is 4. Oh, they jumped ahead. Sorry. It is 4 and 1, 2, 3. 2 and 3/4. 4 and 2 and 3/4. 4, comma, 2 and 3/4. Always put parentheses around that ordered pair. What is the ordered pair for point G? Well, point G is here. So again, the X-axis first. 1 and 1/4. And 3 and 2/4. Or they converted it to a half, and that's fine too. I guess you would want to convert it to a half. 1 and 1/4 and 3 and a half. And you'd write it in on the graph. What is the ordered pair for point B? Pause here, do the work, and then come back and look. Okay, you're back with me. Here's point B way down here, so it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 3/4. 4 and 3/4, but the Y-axis would be 0 because there was no takeoff at all. So it'd be 4 and 3/4 and 0. 4 and 3/4 and 0. And you'd write it in like so on the graph. And what is the ordered pair for point C? Pause, write it in, come back. All right, you're back with me. Let's see if you got the same thing as at 0. X-axis is 0 because there was no takeoff roll, but there was some movement up, so it was 0 and 2. 0 movement on the x-axis, but the movement of 2 on the y-axis. Excellent work. And you have to make sure you write it in each time. Name the point located at 1 and 0. Well, 1 and 0, it would be right here, right there where my cursor is. Now, I guess if you have graph paper at home, that'd be the way to do it. If you have graph paper at home, that would be the way to do it. If you don't have any graph paper, you can still kind of grid it out a little bit and still understand the process, but it makes it a lot easier if you have some graph paper at home. But not everybody has graph paper just laying around the house. Name the point located at 0 and 4.5. Okay, 0, so no movement down the x-axis, but 4 1/4. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1/4. It would be point D. It would be point D, as in dog. I want to name the point that is 4 1/4 from the y-axis. How is this different from the other questions I have asked? Well, it's different because we're just looking for a point off of the y-axis. We're looking for the value of x, because if we're looking for a point that is 4 1/4 from the y-axis, then we're looking for a number movement on the x-axis, because the x-axis number moves away from the y-axis. So that point would be 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1/4. That would be point H. That would be point H. Name the point that is 4 1/4 from the y-axis. That would be H. Because the movement is here. Movement on the x-axis is away from the y-axis. Movement on the y-axis is away from the x-axis. Name the point that is 1/4 from the x-axis. Well, again, that's movement on the y-axis, because movement on the y-axis takes you away from the x-axis, and that would be point I, 1/4. Plot a point J at 3 and 2 3/4. Again, down the runway first, 3 and 2 3/4. 1, 2 and 3/4. Okay, that's 3, and then gotta stay here. 2, 1, 2, 3. Looks like it's right there. Right there. Let me see. See if I can draw it here. It's going to be right 2 and 3/4 at 3 and 2 and 3/4. Looks like it's going to be right there. I'm not, well, let's see. 3, 2, and 3/4. Okay? And they just erased mine. There it is, J. What is the distance? Now we're working with distance. What is the distance between point J and point F. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 units. Not 4 miles, not 4 feet, not 4, just 4. 4 units. Plot point K at 1 1/4 and 1 1/4. Well, 1 1/4 and 1 1/4 should be right here. 1 1/4, 1 1/4, and then up to 1 1/4. K, right there. What is the distance between point K and point G? Well, here's K and here's G. Let's count the units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. And they've graphically shown it there for you as well. 9 units. You know, if you need to go back and listen to this again, if I'm going too fast, remember you have that option. Closure. What are the coordinates for point M? What would we plot points? Where would we plot points B and C? All right. I'm going to ask you to pause now, do the work, and then come back and we'll talk through the answers. All right, you've come back now, so here we go. You guys did a great job today, paying attention and staying focused and staying with me. Oh, you guys are awesome. What are the coordinates for point M? Well, here's point M. So the coordinates would be on the x-axis would be 1 and 1, 2. See, this is in fourths, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4 whole. This would be 3 of 4, so it would be 1 and 3/4. Let me draw this in. This would be, for M, it would be 1 and 3/4, 1 and 3/4. And for the y-axis, it would be 0 because there was no upward movement at all. 0. 1 and 3/4, 1 and 3/4, and 0. Where would we plot points B and C? Well, here are B and C. So the x-coordinate for B is 1/4, and the y-coordinate is 0. So B would be right here. And for C, because again, 1/4 down the runway, 0 takeoff, so it's still running down the runway, just B. For point C, it's 1 and 1/4, okay, 1 and 1/4, and 3/4, 1, 2, 3. So point C would be right here. And as a little bonus, what would be the ordered pair, or what would be the ordered pair, the coordinates for, what are the coordinates for A? It would be, for A would be 1, excuse me, let's erase that. For A, it would be 1 and 1 because it's 1 down the runway and 1 into the air. X-axis is 1, y-axis is 1. And for K, it would be 0 and what would the y-axis be there? X-axis was 0. The y-axis would be what? Oh, you're right. You're right. 1 and 1, 2. 2 fourths. This is 1, 2, 3 fourths. That's in fourths as well. So 1 and 2 fourths, but we know that 2 fourths converts to a half or reduces to a half, simplifies to a half. So it'd be 1 and a half. Okay? And that's the lesson for today. Hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed teaching you. Hope you enjoyed learning. And that will do it for today. Thank you for your focus and attention. You guys did a great, great job.